I can bully people in a very strange style. I can rap like this in all of the while. Talk shit about how they are and all the stuff they do, and bully them like nobody else ever do. I'm a bully. Yeah. I'm bullying you right now with this kind of bullying never before seen in bullying Julian. And bullying Julian is what the bullies call history. You never seen bullying like this, see, but I'm a bully. Oh yeah, and you stink. Oh yeah, 'cause I'm a bully. Oh yeah, you stink. Oh yeah, you just got bullied and served and bullied and served. Last night we had a massive fight. Each insisting we were right and the other one to blame. So when you pulled that stunt, I screamed something awfully blunt. My words as wrong as they were dumb. I've earned my share of shame. It's each of our own failings, not us doing the nailing to the wall. We fear so the others sailing off to reset their life and all. You can trust me, I can trust you, though neither trust ourselves much true. The love lies deep between you and me, at least about that we can both agree. Driving in the car last night, we had a massive fight. Each insisting we were right and the other one to blame. So when you pulled that stunt, I screamed, you're a worthless cunt. My words is wrong as they were dumb. I've earned my share of shame. My share of shame. So yeah, that's the original lyrics of the song is. So
Hi friends, host Eric here, talking with French people. Today I'm going to talk about somebody who's incredibly important to me. And I talk about mental illness and what it actually looks like and what it actually means and how tragic it is. And there may be some people who want to judge me for inadequately respecting Rachel's privacy or something like that. If you think that mental illness is something to be ashamed of, and that she needs to have that kept secret, fuck off, you know. Rachel had a psychotic episode, and you know, I've been in a shitty relationship where somebody's really toxic, and I might even sometimes say something like, this borders on mental illness or something. Not even close. Real mental illness is a genuine break with reality entirely.
Romans, countrymen, lend me your fears so that I may alleviate them. Title of this video is I Miss Spacey. I do miss Spacey. I was watching some things and I happened upon an old video from Laverne of me and Spacey singing What's the Matter With? And it's really a very strong take. So I'm impressed that I had the whole guitar part memorized at the time, I guess. I certainly don't anymore. I'll tell you what happened to him in a little bit. But it made me sad. It made me feel a lot of fondness towards him, remembering his silly ways, you know. Like Spacey was somebody who, you know, he's even more childlike than I am. So I'd be like, come on, Spacey, we need to practice this. He's like, I just practiced it. Okay, you ran through it once. That's not practicing, dude. Or we do a couple takes of things. And I knew that I had a few takes before he started getting fussy about me wanting to do too many takes. It's like, dude, stop countervaluing NI. We're looking for the thing that pops, you know? We're trying to get it just right. And of course, with Spacey, he learned all the words and melodies of my songs, like, and a faster than I could believe. It was insane how quickly, without working on it at all, just, I'd say, okay, well, let's run through it a couple times. You'd look at the words a couple of times. We'd run through it a couple times. By like the third time, you have the whole fucking thing memorized. And he was his musical chops were quite impressive. He's very pitch perfect, like good, excellent pitch. Now, stylistically, he does have a little bit of a
whoever's left, that's still okay.
Just tie the sails to the mast.
Are you angry at Ken?
Or Neville again.
Don't bother with Kez.
He's practically dead.
Focus on Bert.
He's medium hurt.
What's the quandary for Liz?
Did she fail a quiz?
And what about Drew? Will she know what to do if they bring attitude? Will she show ingenuity? She talks about you whenever we go walking. Paths that lead to lesser days.
Paths that lead to lesser days.
Still spill out the overwatered path. And whoever's left, that's still okay. Just tie the sails to the mast. And each of us has much and gravely sinned. Throw up the hands, stiffen the chin. Catastrophe looms heavy overhead again. Time's gone, will never be again. Again.
We have information flows in three ways, plus the interface function, which I just mentioned is sort of a combination of put get. We have 4 different fields on which these attentional manners operate. Namely, if I'm receiving information, a memory, it's entirely internal. It's something that's part of who I am. And that's part of the problem. So you understand that information elements, quote unquote, are not simply things external to one and separate from one, that a person comprises their knowledge, among other things. And to try to say that attending via knowledge is somehow not something one has to account for in your system means you're not modeling things correctly. So, okay, now that we understand that information is part of who a person is, it's not just something one deals with, we need to sort of understand the parameters via which an individual entity has the capacity to parse their movement through reality as both a doer, a beer, a knower, and a thinker, and a feeler, all those things. So to clarify further then, what we're looking at is there are 3 perspectives, so to speak. Every system basically only accounts for 2 of them, subject and object, subjective and objective. But there's actually agential, subjective, and objective. And the difference is, agential might be called private agent, subject might be called public agent, and object is object. The reason is because with any given act, we can parse it out accordingly. In other words, we can collapse everything down in these terms and operationalize them so that they can actually be modeled. So how would that play out? It would play out like if I'm putting information on an external metaphysical field, the subject puts that information, and the information links to the subject. But you, who receives that information, may make speculations about the illocutionary plane, things I'm not saying out loud that are representative of
between when it is being metaphorical or when it is being literal, and it is careful to distinguish between when things are operationalized and when things are simply descriptive. So if I'm saying, well, people are likely to do this, I'm going to point out that that's a behavioral correlate. It's not an example of somebody using a cognitive function process. If I say that people who have extroverted intuition in the dominant slot have, as an absolute frame value, novelty, you might say, well, that's a metaphor, Eric. People don't possess values like that. I'd say, you're right. Everything else can be compared. You need to have all that shit. You have to have everything reducible in a system if you're going to model it. If there's too much irreducible shit in the system, then it's not modelable. So, that's it. And that's why socionics is wrong. It doesn't know what it's doing. It never knew what it was doing in the first place. It had sort of intuitive feelings that we ought to model this, but it didn't attempt to model it correctly. It didn't start with a basic concept of what it means to model something. And so as a consequence, it's a mishmash of metaphor, reductive and inadequate mechanical explanations, and a failure to distinguish between the two. So that's what's wrong with socionics. That's why I'm right and socionics is wrong. Play some music. Okay, so I was going to address that right away, actually, Broccoli Todd. In one of the early videos that he has, he self-identifies as INFJ. In a later video, he self-identifies, I think, as INTJ. At least he hashtagged it INTJ. Thank you for pointing that out, though. Good point. So let's see who we're taking a look at here today. A gentleman by the name of Queen's Gambit. And I have a video here, as you can see. This video I'm going to go back to the one more recent one here. This is marijuana activates introverted perception and blunts introverted judgment. That's the claim he's making about marijuana here. So let's see what he has to say about it and see. Now he's got this one hashtagged INTJ. This suggests to me that he's probably self-identifying currently as an INTJ. So we're going to type police him accordingly, that he claims he's an INTJ. He's much more likely to be an INTJ than he is to be an INFJ for that. That's for sure. If he's not an INTJ, we'll have to throw him in the slammer. But if he is, then we'll assume that we give him a pass for his former mistyping of himself. All right, let's see what he had to say.
I've done it once so far, but there's going to be more evidence of this probably in a week or two. But it seems pretty clear and it makes perfect sense. So this is the reason why I'm sort of bringing it up here. But it seems that out of introverted perception, introverted judging, extroverted perception, extroverted judging, it seems that marijuana seems to activate extroverted judging, activate introverted perception, and blunt extroverted perception and introverted judgment in someone who's a lead extrovert perceiver. So this is very interesting because the results will be like the results of someone who is a INTJ. But you can see this very blunted extroverted perception behind everything. So it's likely they probably wouldn't be mistyped visually, but to perhaps someone who is more a layman or doesn't have sort of skill in typing someone visually as far as the signals that these elements are producing, they would probably get it wrong. Now, the interesting thing as well too is another person started a medication and it had an overall blunting effect. Now, my medication is well known to have an overall blunting effect. So what does the overall blunting effect mean? The overall blunting effect means that the medication is not targeted. Medication, like psychotropic drugs, are not targeted specifically at depression or specifically at anxiety. It's wrong to say that these are anti-anxiety medications because that's misleading. It's simply they blunt everything. And the side effect is that.
Okay, so you will note right off the bat a desire to distill things that are rather nuanced and complex into singularities, right? So it is not the case that anti-anxiety drugs blunt down everything cognitively, but it certainly is the case that a general sedative is not a medication that is targeted towards anxiety in the same way, say, that let's see, in the same way that, say, a cream that clears up a rash is going to be targeted towards that thing. Now, the reality is, probably for all medications, that cream actually does a lot more than just get rid of the rash. That's just the only part we care about. He's singularizing things, and he's got an agenda here, too. You can feel it, right? His initial claim, his base level claim that marijuana has an impact on perception and thinking is not necessarily outrageous. People smoke marijuana for a reason. It has some sort of intoxicating effect, presumably. And sure, there's cause to think that it may impact, say, for example, how you score on a given test that requires meow, meow, meow. I don't think that's been established very clearly. It certainly hasn't been established anecdotally or from data that's available to us all that it has that impact on me. You can look back to videos of me when I'm 17 years old, and I'm very much the same way. And I'm very much the same way whether I'm smoking marijuana or not. So we have a lot of data in front of us that we could... Now, obviously, I'm not saying he's referencing the same data, but any person has available to them plenty of data that contraindicate this notion that we can make these sort of broad statements about the impacts of marijuana. But he makes them anyway, which suggests that he likes singularizing things. A lack of original ideation in a second when we go to his homepage. But right now what we can see is somebody who's got... we can look honestly at the data that we have. We know people who possibly we knew as a kid, and then we know them as they go through a drug period, and we see that they maintain the same personality. Again, you can look at a video of me at 17 years old. I'm clearly the same guy making the same kind of arguments, same attitude, same bearing, same affect. And there's literally 30 years of drug use between then and now for me, and I'm the same guy. Didn't change my personality. Tried all kinds of different drugs. Being on Adderall, not being on Adderall. Being a meth addict for a while. Smoking lots of marijuana. Being a drunk for a while. So we know that there are plenty of examples like me. That you probably know someone in your life. They may have become a more messed up version of themselves, but it didn't change how they attended, how they paid attention, what personality type they were. So we'll see what I think is pretty good evidence for a total lack of extroverted intuition. A drug that impacts something about you psychologically and your cognitive processes. So just because your cognitive processes are part of your overall psychology and your brain chemistry and stuff, it doesn't mean that everything that impacts brain chemistry is related to your cognitive functions. He's basically affirming the consequent, is the fallacious reasoning behind this. But more significantly, note, Rachel's personality is returned to her by going on a drug that she has to stay on all the time. It is not altered by that drug. She is Rachel who's healthy when she's on that drug, and she's suffering from a mental illness when she doesn't take that drug. I have never really afforded him much attention, or didn't think he really deserved it. You'll notice he does type police videos. His most popular videos are type police videos. And because he has some sort of weird thing with me that I determined... So, I mean, I guess... Okay, so full disclosure, let's talk a little bit about the historical interaction between Queen's Gambit and Talking with Famous People. Queen's Gambit came into the Talking with Famous People live stream at one point and started saying some stuff that was wrong. I corrected him, and he didn't provide any sort of justification that was adequate. So I pointed that out, and ultimately I ended up saying those were some very weak arguments. What he was presenting was weak, and that really offended him. So since then after that he went on I don't know, some stretch of time where he seemed determined to do whatever he could to do me damage, to come into the live stream and try to reduce me as a human being, try to attack my character or whatever, things like that. So, of course, one of his big angles of attack is that I'm not an ENTP, that I'm actually still trying to spin it, right? So basically, he lied and said he voice chatted with this guy and everything was fine, and a bunch of people liked it. And then the guy's like, no, we didn't voice chat. I refuse to voice chat with you. What are you talking about? Is that what he's saying there?
Yeah.
Did I misinterpret anything here?
I don't believe
That's
so.
what he was saying, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and now he's trying to say, and for some reason, fucking Art didn't like that. Is that really what he's saying? As an INTJ, you would have both much better NI, better NE, and probably better TI as well. You seem to embrace the counter-valued aspect of TI much more than the demonstrative aspect of TI, which sort of makes sense more for an ISTJ because ISTJs are physical first in their affect, and TI is a metaphysical function, so they're going to counter-value it more when it runs afoul of your first three functions as it does. In other words, you're the opposite of me. I really don't like TE because I go metaphysical, 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 and TE is physical. You really don't like TI. Why? Because you go physical, 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 and TI is metaphysical. So it's a super countervalued 6. You and I are both those types. Unfortunately, you super countervalue what you need to be right in this domain, and you are definitely heading to the slammer, sir. You are no INTJ, you are no INFJ, you are no INTP, or whatever the fuck else you call yourself. You are, in fact, an ISTJ who belongs in type jail. You're also a copycat and just like a big
Bucket of meow.
yeah, you're a big bucket of meow. Hello, friends, and welcome to Talking with Famous People. I come to you today with some dark news of sorts. My father is dead. He died yesterday. Of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Not expected, but not totally unexpected either. He was always going to go out that way. Yeah, I know. Everybody's sorry for my loss. It's like, thank you for your service, you know. It was, he didn't want to outlive my mom, you know. He wasn't going to outlive my mom for very long. But last week we went to the general practitioner for his depression as we were waiting for a psychiatrist appointment. And I told the lady what to prescribe him, but she didn't want to listen to me. She prescribed him Remeron. 3 days after he started taking it, he shot himself in the head. It does say on the warning label that Remeron links causally to suicidal thoughts, suicide, and stuff like that, you know.